Hey everybody, Greg Poole here at Junkie Media, bojunkie.com. It's time for another podcast. Hope everybody out there has been doing well. I had come back from the ATA and got the typical crud, so last week was interesting to say the least. So for those of you watching, you can see who today's guest is. I'm just going to jump right into this. The Vegas shoot, our our top dog for the archery world is coming up here next month, and with some of the changes that have happened over the last couple years with the Vegas shoot, it's getting close. I did a podcast with these two fine human beings a while ago, but it's been a hot minute, so I wanted to circle back. And so before I introduce them, I just want to say something up front. I'm gonna ask a lot of questions about Vegas. There's going to be a lot of information about Vegas. I'm not asking about how much a goddamn cup of coffee is. I don't care how much a cup of coffee is. I don't care how much sushi is in the casino compared to. I'm not asking about food and beverage. I'm not asking about coffee. If you're concerned about coffee, Uber Eats it or bring your own coffee pot. I don't care, but I'm not talking about that kind of stuff because I just don't care. It's Vegas. I'm there 4 days. I don't care if my cup of coffee is 12 instead of 8. 8's too much too, so 12's just a cherry on top. But anyway, so let's just go ahead and get this started. It is Bruce and Brittany, the dynamic duo from the NFAA Vegas shoot. What's going on, guys?
Hey, thanks for having us. And we're looking forward to a really big year. It's a big number for sure. This is the 60.
Right.
Um, and I couldn't be more excited. And I'm ready to talk about everything because we want to treat everybody like we should. Customer service is our main goal, and we're ready to get into topics, man.
Absolutely. So, very first thing, let's just talk about since this is the 60th now, Bruce, for the sake of argument, like, look, folks, when you say, why did they technically the South Point was on the strip, it was just way the hell at the end of it. So, for the sake of argument, Bruce, we're just going to say that the South Point was not on the strip. But since you've been around since the dawn of time and Robin Hood and green tights, since this is the 60th, how many years has the Vegas shoot been on the strip like it is now compared to other not technically strip locations?
Well, I can obviously, if you don't know, I'm 65, so I was not 5 years old shooting it. But I have studied a lot of the history. And by the way, Vegas had quite a few years. I think you remember from our 50th, everybody was like, wait a minute, that doesn't add up to 50. Well, there were several years it wasn't held. When I say several, I mean, like, was it 3 or 4?
Yeah, there was a
Yes,
couple in the 60s where,
it was getting
yeah.
started. It had several different names, but basically, I'll kind of go backwards. We started in 1999 when I got the call and said, "Hey, you're doing a really good job with the indoor nationals we held in Tulsa, I think at the time. Maybe you'd like to look at this." We were so in our tenure with it since '99, we've been in the upstairs of the Sands Expo Center. That's now the Venetian or wherever, whatever it's called. It's connected. It's not Sands anymore, but it's the Expo Center.
Right.
In 2000, we were in the basement of the Expo Center. And then in 2001, we made the move to the Riviera. Um, the Riviera, we were there till 2011. So I think it was actually 11 years. And then we made the move to the South Point. And then, of course, now we're to Caesars. So Riviera was on the strip. The Expo Center technically is not, but it's a city block off the strip.
Right.
And I think a lot of those, going back, the Vegas shoot's been at the Dunes, the Sands. It's been at the Frontier. It's been in the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Right.
And if,
Tropicana.
yeah, Tropicana, of course. And,
Yeah.
for those of you that weren't there for the last year of the South Point, I made a little joke to the South Point people on how every place we'd been has been imploded. And then we put up a picture of the South Point, but we didn't blow it up.
Right. Right.
But anyhow, yeah, it's been all over, but predominantly the majority of the years it's been on what we would call the main strip,
Right.
not downtown, not where the South Point and the M and the MGM are, but on the main strip.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
that's its home. I mean, that's kind of where it's been, and we're kind of back into that. But
Right. Well, and I think that that's kind of an important part of the conversation. I mean, for those that don't know, and I'm not going to try to watch Bruce have any PTSD here, but leaving the South Point wasn't necessarily, not necessarily, leaving the South Point wasn't a choice. The South Point kind of spoiled us, let's just be honest, with the arena and all that. So me for one, I was just impressed that we even had a Vegas in 2025. So let's just put it that way. And so, but let's fast forward to post 2025 and let's just get started with some of the nitty gritty here. So when you guys cut the deal with Caesars, it's a Caesar Entertainment Group, folks. They own like a bunch
Nine,
of stuff.
nine
So
properties. Yeah.
so we had what we had for space in 2025, and that was obviously dependent upon how we did and all this kind of other stuff. Just give us a quick preview or a review of how your conversations went with Caesars after the 2025 event. And I have heard you guys say that we kind of got more space now. So kind of talk about how your review with them went and what new space we have.
Okay, yeah. Let me start first of all. The one thing I want to go back to the South Point because I think it's something that I hear a lot. And I think everybody knows now that we didn't have a choice. I mean, we kind of maybe could have, but it would have been way worse, and it would have been having it in June, and I mean, things just wouldn't have worked. So
Right.
that's kind of beside the point. But one thing, a lot of people, say, I'd really like to go to a place where they want me and I'm treated well. Well, maybe the one thing you don't look at is the place that you say treated you well kicked you out.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I hate to jump to that point, but it's realistic. And I don't expect people to understand that. I
Right.
really don't. I mean, it's a big business for a nonprofit, and I think the bottom line is that we are trying to do what's best for the archers, the customers, and sometimes it may not look like it, but believe me, we are.
Right.
I'm the last person that wants to raise the price on anything because I know what happens. I come from a retail background and a customer service background, so I know how that works.
Right.
And if I had my way, I'd cut everything in half and wave a wand and the money would appear, but that's not going to happen. So,
Right.
getting into the Caesars properties, you're right. When you make that comment, you know, I'm surprised we had one. Well, we were feeling the same way. The interesting part is, you always hope things happen for a reason. You look at the change dynamics, and change can be good sometimes, but usually people don't like change, and we've gone through that. But overall, we signed a 3-year deal with the Caesars Group, and it included a lot of little differences, things that we saw some last year, and we can address these however you want. We don't have anything to hide. There's nothing to hide with what we did. But last year we were able to only get in certain rooms at certain times.
Right.
So one of the big changes, and I'll kind of try not to clutter this, but explain it. Last year, the trade show was in the Horseshoe along with championships and kids. This year, we were able to get into Paris, the big ballroom, where we really wanted the trade show from the start, because now what we're going to have is all the championship plus a lot of flights shooting in Paris with the entire trade show on the same level, right in line with it, right behind the shooting line. So I think everybody can understand that.
Well, and can I say one thing? So
Yeah,
like when you're planning for this event and you're looking at maps and CAD drawings of a building and you try and make it work the way that it makes sense on paper, it doesn't always translate the same when you get 10,000 people there. And I
Right.
think that's a hard lesson we had to learn last year, that like some of the ceiling heights and like just things didn't flow like we thought they were going to flow. And I don't think it was bad. I think we're just trying something new this year that we hope is going to be better and more like it was.
yeah, most of
So
that.
it's just like, I mean, I like to say like I started at South Point in 2013 when there was like 1,600 shooters. And I think with South Point, the crowd grew as we figured things out. And then now we have this big crowd and all of a sudden and these high expectations of this like well-oiled machine.
Right.
Now we're just like starting from scratch. So I would definitely love to have pushed the rewind button a few times last year and done things differently. So we definitely learned a lot.
Oh yeah,
Well, and look, it's also not just a new building. It's not like all the people you'd been working with at South Point for 10 years came to work the same in a new building. So it
Yeah.
wasn't just a new building, it was new
New people.
decorators, a new
Yeah.
staff, a new everything.
Well, new rules. That's what, and I don't want to, there was a lot of rules with
Yes,
the corporation. So
sure.
yeah,
but
definitely.
yeah, and Brittany's exactly correct. All those little things, and I think the one thing you have to do when you're looking at it from our standpoint, and I think most of the archers do, you really have to look at what the majority and what mainstream are saying and thinking. I think most people got it. Some of the things that I heard, I kind of take them personally especially when they're dead wrong. I remember one incident, I don't know who the people were, it doesn't matter, but somebody said, "Oh my God, there's no way you find out the day before that you have to move all the target butts." Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. You do.
Right.
And I can tell you firsthand, I'm sure there's people that run way bigger conventions than we do, but in Las Vegas, because of a lot of bad past history, the fire marshals walk in.
Right.
And when they walk in and they have the power to stop everything, you can have everything done on a CAD drawing, you can have everything approved, and the final approval comes in. And when they walk in and go, "Wait a minute, you can't cover those doors."
Right.
And I go, "Hold on, hold on." And it's like, "No, you can't do that unless you do this, this, and this." And to make a really long story short, we got lucky in some cases and we got unlucky in some others, but they don't understand when they look at a CAD drawing and they see all these lanes. Usually it's for the better, and they walk in and go, "Oh God, it's wide open.
Right.
There's no problem with egress. There's no problem with anything." But when they see something, go, "Oh, wait a minute, that's continuous. That has to be so and so flame retardant."
Right.
And that butt can't be there. And all of a sudden, one butt moves, so 80 move.
Right.
Well, it's crazy. So, and we could talk about it all day, but that is what it is. Now, we got lucky with some because, as it turns out, one of the guys making the decision as a fire marshal happens to be a bow hunter from the
Nice.
state of Michigan. And boy, did I take advantage of that. So,
Right.
and things luckily work out for some of that. But we just ran into a lot of logistical things, and most people, I think, adapted. And I think it is what it is. We made good changes this year. I know that one of the things we did simply because of a time thing, we had a few little rooms that we don't like to have. Like we had a bow storage here and a bow storage there. Well, we had to close one down because we couldn't finish the shoot because of the number of people we had.
Right.
So we closed it down and made it into an overflow for targets. Well, you adapt, but that's something we don't know. I mean, we just don't know that. And we try to adapt, and most people are good. But we had a lot of that little stuff. Interestingly, I didn't want to talk about the coffee, but I have to. And I think this is a pretty interesting story. I happened to be in Vegas for the NFR. For those of you that don't know, that's I think it's National Final Radio or Rodeo,
Right.
and I was with the South Point people. And a quick side note there, now talking to the owner and a lot of people there to find out what they've done. First of all, the odds of us going back there are pretty much not,
Right.
unless they redo something and make something bigger. But I talked to them and they were like, "Yeah, you were the best group we had." It was really it was a divorce. I mean, it really was.
But an amicable divorce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It just both people felt bad.
Yeah.
Well, they were like, "Well, we actually replaced you with four different groups, and just so you know, they're now paying what they bring in is over four times the amount that we did."
Sure.
Bottom line, what I'm trying to say is what the short version of that is, if we had even stayed there, our prices would have gone almost commensurate to what they are now.
Right.
So they were going to go up. But it is what it is. A couple things that I think that really need to come out that are important when we look, like I said, at the big numbers, just that one little problem. Oh, I got to finish the coffee. So I'm in Paris because I have to stay there.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything quite like it. I've traveled a lot, I've been around a lot, but what I saw when I walked into Paris, and of course, I only made one mistake. I'm not a high tech guy. If Greg Poole would have been with me, we'd have been showing this right now. I looked through there and the entire casino, which is from the front doors to the elevators to where the hotel rooms are, and the coffee shops at the end is solid cowboy hats.
Right.
Cowboys and cowgirls everywhere. And I'm like, they're standing under the Eiffel Tower. I
Right.
mean, the photo up here is crazy. Well, then as I walk up, I'm thinking about my own coffee addiction. And I look at the coffee shop that I think a lot of people use. There's two of them close. And I look at the line, the queue there. It's 30 people, and they're all cowboy hats. And I walked by, and they had a special. It was $12 gourmet coffees, which are the mochas and the cappuccinos. And
Right.
boy, should I have taken a picture, because literally down the hall to the left, it's $3. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
my point is, cowboys, I've grown up in a rural state that has a lot of agriculture and cowboys, and they're the same demographic we are financially. And I'm thinking, wow, I wonder if they all go back and complain.
No, it's just a matter of convenience.
But
And
a nice picture of that line of cowboys
right.
with that special $12,
Yeah, exactly.
all one size would have been interesting.
Yeah,
But
well, I get an extra shot in mine, so mine's not even 12. But anyway,
Yeah.
so let's talk about the kind of, so did we or did we not get another big room in the Paris?
well, yes and no. I mean, it's the reallocation and the time of the rooms that's big.
Oh, okay.
So it's that's really hard to explain, but the answer to that actually is no. But now we have it for the right times. We didn't have
Oh,
it before.
okay.
And one of the biggest things Brittany mentioned, I think we all kind of take a blame for it. The horseshoe rooms being, even though they're contiguous, they were still apart.
Right.
Mhm.
Vendors didn't like that so much. They got by, they did it.
We didn't anticipate that being such a disconnect. And I don't think it was that bad. I actually think the ceiling height of the halls was a bigger thing. It just didn't feel grand, and
Correct.
like usually people are putting up big flutter flags and like signage and stuff. It just didn't feel as grand, as cool as it did in South Point. And so Paris has like freaking 30, 40-foot ceilings. So it's going to be
Right.
pretty cool.
Well, and the
So
other thing, when you walk into that trade show now, you get that wow factor.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of got that at South Point, but not really, because it was around the corner and spread out a little bit. This is like the whole line. This is like the show. And
yeah,
the other thing is, obviously, I think by the most part, it's worked out well, because the show is basically full. I mean, we've
good.
got new sponsors. We've got like just a couple booths left. And I mean, everybody seems to be excited, and I think that's a good thing. But one last thing I want to mention though about South Point before we go off, you know, the one thing we know, there's some hard facts we get now, having made a move, and we got this one Riviera to South Point. Now we got it South Point to Caesars, but the really big one is we know exactly how many room nights we had at South Point and the Grandview next door.
Right.
And here's what a lot of people don't realize. The room nights we had in 25 at the Caesars Group almost doubled the room nights we had at the South Point.
Right.
Now, put that into customer service. We were losing, number one, all the people, but they had to drive somewhere.
Right.
They were already doing that. And of course, the other thing that I have to mention, I'm really transparent in where you can get my email, my cell number, all that stuff. The number one complaint I've had in the last 15 years has been, is there anything that can be done so we don't have to stand in line 2 to 3 hours to get a meal at South Point?
Right.
Well, so we were doing a disservice to a lot of people there. So there's both sides of that coin. So hopefully we're in the happy medium. So
Yeah. So
that's not comparisons, but
yeah. So let's talk about the horseshoe portion of Vegas last year, where the booths were and where the championship and the kids. Who is shooting in those? It's technically one, but it's two. Who's shooting in those two rooms next month?
that'd be
Yeah,
the
so the kids will be shooting in the grand ballroom of the Horseshoe, which is where they shot last year.
Okay.
Really cool space because it has a lot more spectator room,
Okay.
which is good because there's a lot of parents and we love parents. There's just
Right.
a lot of them. And then the flights will be in the event center, which is where the championship shot last year.
Okay.
So we'll be able to put more butts in there. And then in the Paris ballroom, we'll have the trade show, and then we'll have championship and then flights where there's holes in championship. So say there's 5 lines a day. I think 3 of them will be championship and probably 2 of them will be flights.
Okay. So the where the booths and the championship and kids shot last year is now the booths are not there, and that's
Correct.
going to be all kids and flights as
Yep.
much will fit. And
Yep.
then, and folks, I timed this. So anyone that told you, oh, it's such a far walk from the Paris to the whatever, I'll tell you what, it took me more time to walk my fat ass down to get a coffee at the South Point and then walk to the arena in the South Point than it did to walk out of the elevator, go 37 feet, get my $14 coffee, and walk to the horseshoe. I timed it because I'm a nerd. And
It's not
so,
very fun.
yeah. And so, so where the booths and the championship and kids were last year, just to make it clear, the booths are not there, and that's going to be kids and flights. Then over in the hall, folks, where the amateur shot last year is giant. That is a giant room. And so that's where all of the booths are going to be, all the championships are going to be, and then what's left over in there will be the rest of flights. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Correct.
Okay. And then across the hallway from that giant room, there was a little room for practice, and then there was a bow storage room. Are those still going to be those?
So last year there was actually,
3.
so we fought I don't want to get too far away from the fire marshal really gave us a challenge last year with bow storage. So we ended up doing something. And then once the fire marshal saw it, he's like, oh, this is silly. So this year we'll actually have one big bow storage in Paris that they'll have access to is whatever hours practice is available, there'll be access to bow storage. And then there's 2 practice rooms in that hall, or actually in that hallway.
Okay.
So roughly the same number of practice butts as last year. But we also had like another bow storage area crammed in one of those rooms
Right.
just because we needed the space. Whereas now we can move that into Paris Ballroom.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and then like if you instead of when you're walking through the transition from the Paris to the horseshoe and you go right to the chute, if you went left and upstairs, there was like some practice like upstairs
That
at
was a
the
championship.
is
Yeah.
that still there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
It's
still
going to change, but it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So let's address a couple of things that, and I'm just gonna I guess this will just be a yes or no. Yes, last year there was a issue and they had to close bow storage, one of the bow storages and the stuff, and there was some people who were upset that the bows got moved without them being there. So this coming year, is there enough bow storage that will be unimpeded by any scheduling conflicts and have to be closed early?
Well,
Yeah. Let me actually tell
hold
the
on, though, but I think there's a bigger answer to that. First of all, let me explain what happened, and then she can get into the details.
Okay.
We had so many shooters last year that we had to have an additional line on the last day.
Okay.
in
Okay.
one room.
In one room. So
Yeah.
we close. What do? You go till you'd have a shoot going on while the finals were happening. So we had to make a decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's obviously it's not good. I think most people understand, but there's a few that may be upset, and we apologized and did what we had to do.
Okay. That's
The
fair.
answer to that is, we could run into a lot of things. I mean, only a good thing could happen if we have more people than we've ever had.
Sure.
This year, we may have to make more adjustments. But that's a growing pain that you just have. But yeah, and Brittany, go ahead and mention what you're talking about with that because
Yeah, I just think it's one of the hardest parts is communicating with people in that setting.
Right.
Some people aren't checking emails, so I think this year too, we're going to work on text alerts and that kind of stuff because it's very hard. Like when you text everybody or email everyone and say, hey, this bow storage is closing at this time, not every single person's going to see that. So there were a few bows left that were moved into the other bow storage, and it just so happens that those people didn't check their email. We couldn't get a hold of them.
Right.
And so you didn't even know who they were because at that point last year we didn't have anyone's names or anything on their bows. So that's one of the cool things that we're implementing for this year is like a check-in and out system with an actual barcode. So when you go into Vegas and you check in, you're actually going to get a barcode with your name on it. So that if we need to contact people, their information is on their stuff.
Okay.
So that's another huge thing that we're adding. And also knowing, hey, you came in at this time and left at this time, and you have one piece or two pieces of things in bow storage. We're really trying to like track some of that and track traffic and patterns and
Sure.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, like Bruce said, it happened last year. It was a spur of the moment thing, but it sounds like you guys have addressed it. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
one part of that, Greg, that
yeah,
that I do want to mention, one of the biggest problems we had overall with I mean, communication was the problem. I can go back and say, yeah, it's a new place, it's whatever. But one of the things that we had that we will not do again is we had two registration desks,
Two
right.
like offices,
two
two,
offices. So we
yeah,
had the potentials there, and all you have to do, anybody that's been in business or worked with people knows, you have the potential for Brittany to tell you one thing and me to tell you another.
yeah, it's like a
Right.
big game of telephone.
Right.
So that won't happen again.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
All right.
So we're
So,
gonna have a centralized, just so you know, we're gonna have a centralized desk at Paris this year.
okay.
So when you need something, when you got to figure something out, you're gonna come to that Paris main desk.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. One of the other things, and I actually experienced this myself, but wasn't necessarily too upset about it, but because I shouldn't have been awake anyway. Um, is the 24-hour practice 24-hour practice, or are we going to be amending that verbiage to reflect actual hours?
Yeah, so we
20, right?
that was another curveball that the facility threw at us last year is that obviously we sold, we start registrations 6, 8 months ahead of time. So
Right.
we did everything, it's always been 24-hour practice. And they're like, wait a minute, you can't have that 24 hours.
Right.
So, we had to adjust and we already had that language. And I think we had people really trained from before.
Right.
So this year we've changed all that language so it's not as confusing. I
Okay.
definitely practice hours with the shifted schedule last year was very confusing
Right.
with championship being a day earlier. So we've tried to kind of streamline that. And so basically practice will be closed from 11 to 4 a.m.
That's
So
all. That's all everybody needs to know.
yeah, they can sleep or go to a club.
Exactly. So let's last couple things about the facility. Um, are we still going to have to do the bow blankets?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
there's yeah, and I can tell you that that is subject to change, being that we may not have to, but we're meeting with the safety people, and it's no secret what we're trying. We're trying to do something very similar to a gun lock, that would be a fluorescent color that everybody would see, but I don't think it's a very likely thing. They
Right.
don't want. I mean, I think I told everybody last year when we talked that I went through the golf club thing
Yeah.
when I was there and went, oh my God, there's never going to be a bow scene in this place.
Yeah.
You
Right.
had to have, you had to have
Well,
colors on your golf bag. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, and I mean, like anything else, it's been 60 years, and to my knowledge, there's never been a archery incident with a misfire, and we'll get to misfires during shooting in a minute, but there's never been an incident outside the range with any. So at some point, Caesars is probably going to be like, yeah, this is not the group of people that are going to have issues with this. Are you guys like, I had two of mine taken last year while I was practicing. So whatever. Are you guys going to be giving out bow blankets again?
We're not going to be giving them out, but we do have them for purchase.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, we added a little bit nicer case this year with a zipper. It's just it's cost prohibitive. I'm not gonna lie. It
Well, I
cost
know.
us an insane amount of money last year.
Right.
And we just don't want to pass that on to archers that don't want it.
Right.
So our thought is instead of adding it to everyone's registration, let people bring their own or let them purchase one of ours so they
I
can
agree
make
with that.
that choice.
Yeah.
So
we'd much rather they bring one.
Right.
yeah, soft case or whatever you want to, like a secondary soft case, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I had heard a rumor that, so I want to kind of get into some of the financials of this because I think that, you know, I think that a lot of people don't necessarily understand the fiscal part of this. And so on my target last year in Vegas, I watched two people yeet arrows into the wall. Um, and I mean, look, shit happens. I can't say as if I necessarily thought it was a broken D loop or a release malfunction because I don't think it was either of those. However, we are in a new facility at the South Point. You know, obviously that was something that had long been established, but talk to, I mean, I watched two of them. So how many total arrow mishaps did we have into walls at the new facility? And how does that get factored in financially?
Well, first of
Joe,
all,
Brittany laughs.
yeah,
I'll
it's
let Bruce take this and say what he wants to say.
yeah, I didn't I some rumors, what I do know is that the year before in South Point we had four. One happened to hit a TV or a screen or whatever it was. That
Mhm.
was the cheapest fix, but they were not a big deal. So I can tell you right now I'm not even sure of the exact number, but I know what the price was. It cost us over $30,000 to repair the arrow holes that archers put in the wall. And
What?
we'll just move on from that.
Mhm.
That's a hard number. That's what it is. That's what we had to deal with.
And that was a cost on top of, so that's something we get at the end. You don't budget for
Yeah, we have
that.
no
You don't.
idea. And
So,
and and
and it's,
so
yeah.
going forward, there's a couple things we're doing. And we've got it just about finalized, but um, somehow we've got to try to tell the archers that they have to be responsible, for their own problems like that. And we're looking at the final ways to address that. But the real thing we're doing is our netting that we had before. Number one, I'll be the first one to admit it may slow an arrow down, but I don't think those were the problems anyhow. It was much higher above that. And right now, we are working on, and it looks like it will probably be a reality, that we're going to have something that's 8 to 9 foot tall behind the target butt that
Good.
will stop the arrow. Um, it
So above the target.
That's what I said, above the target
But
butt.
in my mind, I'm thinking, because we're already at like 10 feet. So we're talking like probably 14, 15 feet in the air.
Right. So
Good.
it's
Yeah.
8 to 9 feet above the target butt. Yeah.
Above. Yeah.
And it's not a simple process. If I knew it was going to be 30 grand every year, I'd say we deal with that and pay it, because this is going to be a lot more.
Right.
It's something that we have to address and have to do. Um, so it's a huge point with Caesars. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't want it. They don't want to charge us. I'm sure they charge us more than you and I would
Well, they wanted
charge.
to make it hurt. You could
Sure.
tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they
And
don't want it done anymore
Yeah.
because they don't understand that, and they process that to be, oh my goodness, danger,
right.
which in fact it is. But we had some areas that were hit pretty hard and didn't make a lot of sense. So I think we're probably going to do something where our judges are going to have to be a lot more informed. And when those accidents happen, I mean, we all know what it's like for a release to go off, and those are somewhat understandable. Um, but some of them were pretty hard to figure out what was going on. So
Yeah, 30 grand, that's oof, that's a lot. That's not acceptable. But anyway, like you said, we'll just move on from that. Although I do have a lot more questions and comments about that. I'll keep those to myself. Um,
Fancy wallpaper, I guess, huh?
right. I had also heard that and this may be a rumor, so I'm just going to ask you right here that you guys had to cough up more money for security. Is that accurate?
yeah, yeah, and that's something that wasn't known to us again.
Right.
And it's really not some of it's going to be solved with the way we're moving the shooting and the trade show.
Okay.
But in our to us, what it ended up being is we had to pay. It was more than that. Brittany maybe knows the amount, but we had to pay a lot of money to have security to watch the Caesars employees to make sure they didn't go behind our butts.
Mhm.
And
And
you have a dollar amount for that by chance?
about what it
I
was.
honestly, it started. See, the problem is we had security because we knew that's something we wanted to have. So we had security overnight in kind of the common areas. So we already had a security company set, but we got there and it went from like one person for overnight at each property, and it grew tenfold because what we had to do is we had to cover all the back hallways, all the service hallways behind any shooting. So I mean, it was probably a 40 to $50,000 difference of what we thought at
Yeah,
first. So I mean, it's just like monopoly money at this point, right? Like,
yeah, they
so yeah, and so and then I want to. So then, what the feedback was after the event is that too many people were going back into the properties with their bow sleeve off or their bow bag or whatever you want to call it. So now for next year, they're requiring us to have security or ushers at each entrance and exit of the properties so that they can check that people have their bow cases on properly. So that's gonna, that, I don't know if you want to lead into this now, but that's obviously a reason for another addition to this year.
Well, yeah, the
The
spectator thing. I mean,
spectators.
that
Well,
qualifies in half of
Yeah.
that. I mean,
well, the spectator fee is definitely on here, but I'm probably going to get some questions that you guys just are going to refuse to ask and you or refuse to answer, and you have every right to do so. But dude, I'm looking right now and there's already $75,000 right off the top that, I mean, let's be honest, folks, the not, with Yankton, it's great to hold events out there, but Vegas basically made the NFAA's financial nut for the year historically. And these numbers, I'm not necessarily stoked about these, but let's jump into the spectator fee. But before we get started here, I want to tell a story about my brother, Casey Ross, up in Bend, Oregon. He has himself a young daughter, and he paid for her to go to dance class for like months for a winter dance. And he paid for her the whole time. And then he had to buy a ticket for himself to go watch the dance that he paid for his daughter to train for. So with that being said, it is 2026. And so a lot of people got their panties in a bunch about the spectator fee of $20. So first and foremost, that is not $20 per day. That is $20 for the event, correct?
Yep. And the finals as well. Get you into the finals.
which that's $6 a day.
Yeah.
Right. That's less than my coffee that you're going to be buying me, Bruce.
Yeah.
So I'm already late. I'm already seeing a $75,000 hit here. So talk a little bit about the spectator fee. And, obviously it'd be great to say, oh, we're going to have 100,000 people watching. So at $5 a pop per day, yeah, you guys are set. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. But talk a little bit about some of the other things people might not understand when it comes to the spectator fee. Now, you just mentioned people walking around with bows uncovered and stuff, but get into that a little bit.
I think that's probably one of the key factors. I mean, the other thing is too that literally when we're looking at the overall costs and coming up with something that pencils out, we don't want to charge the archers anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think that would be fair. And there's a lot. I mean, when I took over the Vegas shoot, there was a fee to get into it. The same thing as we're doing now. A lot, and actually back then, for any of you that are old enough to remember, the show was called the NAS. It was the National Archery Show that started. That was a prelude to the Bow Hunting Trade Show, which is a prelude to the ATA. So that was done back then. And of course, the big question that always comes up is, wow, I got to pay $6 to go in and buy something from a vendor. Well, that's kind of the world. I mean, gun shows are that way. Retail shows, the biggest conservation shows, the SHOT Show for, people buying all their dollars. That's just kind of a standard thing. There's a few that play with, sure, we'll take the number and we'll just divide that out and we'll put that on all the vendors. This just looked like, and there's another thing too, and that's having hard, solid numbers that we can deal with. We get several times throughout the South Point and through Caesars, we've had, how many people do you have in that room?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, hell, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's some really good reasons for it. And I mean, it's financial, it's control, crowd control, being able to tell people what's going on, and the bow cases saying, hey, pull that thing shut when you go out.
Right.
Well, so we're gonna have to pay those security to stand at those entrances anyway to
Right.
check cases now, right? So our thought was, okay, unfortunately, how do you pay for these people? Because that's even more than the security we paid for last year. So we don't want to raise it. We don't want to put it on the archers because I just don't think, I feel like everyone needs to cost share. We need to make sure all participants are at least contributing something.
Right.
The other cool part about that is they're going to be scanning them in with their pass. So we can, again, like kind of like bow storage I talked about earlier, we can track the traffic going into the show and kind of get some good data on who's coming and leaving at what times and
Yeah.
that.
Well, back to something you just said, Bruce. I haven't heard anybody, and I don't talk to everybody, of course, but I haven't heard any vendors or companies say that people have to pay to come in and buy from them. That's literally one of the dumbest things I've ever heard come out. And I know you didn't originate the thought, so I'm not going to say,
No.
but that's literally one of the stupidest things I've ever said. Here in Klamath Falls, they had a freaking knitting deal, and you had to pay $5 to get in
Yeah.
to check out a bunch of old gray hairs knitting projects.
Yeah.
So paying to get in, like you referenced a gun show or any, that's literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So I
I
don't,
mean, that's one of the things, and last year, I mean, we were lucky and we were aggressive in going after sponsors for, our big final, which was important. And, you know, but people were already like, I mean, even when I met with a handful of the vendors and sponsors, we talked about it and they go, no, no. Some of them were like, no, you can't charge. They got to be able to get in here. We'll figure out a way to do it.
right,
And some were like, yeah, you should charge. And right away I thought, okay, I'm not even going down this road. We're going to do what we have to. But I think that's something that's a way bigger picture, in what archery's value is. And I think that's something that's going to be addressed in the future, but we can't, you know, I've dealt with a lot of companies that get memberships for things and they don't give their employees it free. They make them pay some part of it
right,
because they say, we've checked this and they don't use it. They don't see a value. Well, I think that's what we've run into in the whole sport. I mean, when you go to the best of this or the best of that or whatever, should it be free? Where do we want to be? I think that's a bigger question. But and by the way, too, while we're talking about that, and Brittany mentioned it, this year the our 60th anniversary final, there will be no charge, and we have that underwritten. So,
well, that was
um,
exactly going to be my next question
but that's
was,
and
That's archers, vendors, and spectators.
right.
So you have to have one of those passes to get in.
Yeah,
right. Well,
somebody
and
on the street can't come in.
Yeah.
right. Well, and that, well, sure they can, but you got to buy a ticket.
Right.
And
By
so,
the way, that is a ticketed event, just so they know. And
right,
by the way, once again, here may be the best thing. And some of this is probably boring, but I think your audience is wanting to know exact stuff. So I'm going to give them some exact stuff they may not want to know. But in the South Point at the finals, we know for a fact that the South Point Arena holds 3,900 people, 4,000 people, whatever it is.
all of it.
We could use half of it because half of it was in the safety zone.
Right.
All the people that I know there over the years, they would come in, their fire marshals, and go, yep, you have 2,100 people. You have 1,900 people. The people up here by the Matthews and Hoyt booth and all the way along the thing, there's about 300 there and 400 here, and you got 17. Well, you know what? Last year, we doubled that plus, and we have hard numbers for it.
Right.
We had 4,500 tickets that we gave out, and you could see the crowd anytime you wanted to. There wasn't, other than the wings that we left where you couldn't see from, it was
Right.
full. And we had another 400 people that were there between the participants, the staff, everybody doing all the other work. I mean, we had basically double plus some than we've ever had at South Point.
Right. Well, look,
So,
let's break down a little bit. So when you walk in, when you would walk into the South Point for the finals, great arena, loved the arena. It was amazing. Cool. When you walked into the finals venue last year, bro, it was like you were walking into a Kid Rock concert. They had security, concessions, like literally there. I mean, like I was there super early because I'm a nerd and that's what we do. Like from the very beginning. And dude, there was like 50 employees milling around there like it was going to be an actual rock concert.
Mhm.
Now, I know you guys probably have to pay for that. I know last year you can say who it was, but instead of our people having to pay last year, a particular company covered the cost for that, and you can say who that is.
yeah, it was right on the tickets. The Easton Foundation covered that. Yeah.
Well, I was going to let you, yeah, the Easton Foundation paid for that because archers are not used to that. And if you just drop it on them, oh, hey, by the way, you got to pay $5 to come watch the finals, people would have lost their mind. And
Yeah.
so Easton covered it, and apparently it's been underwritten for this year as well and kind of integrated into everything else. But that was one of the things that I noticed right away about that finals venue is when I walked in, I was like, these folks are treating this like it's an actual rock concert. And so will that level of staffing continue for this year now that they realize we don't need all these people?
Yeah, but it's interesting. There'll be a few less. Believe me, that was one of the first things because when I look at ushers and I know what their numbers of union wise, I'm like, my God, come on. But interestingly, a couple of really good points about that venue. Number one, this year, whatever you saw last year will be the best I think we've ever seen, without a doubt. This year it's going to be on steroids. Brittany and I were there with some other people, and the manager of that place started rattling off numbers, and I lost it. All I know is he said we have the best something in the world, and we put in $1 million worth of audio, and we have lighting that nobody in the world has, and and you mentioned something about a Kid Rock. Well, the night before we had the shoot off last year, Shania Twain was playing. So yeah, it's a big venue, and to be perfectly honest, the people we had in the world of archery production and stuff we did, I can't speak for them exactly, but my interpretation was they walked in and went, "What the hell?"
Oh,
What
dude, I mean, let's be
do you
honest.
do? So we're actually this year going a step further, and we're going to have somebody that works in that venue assist with our archery specific production so that everything flows correctly. But I can tell you there's going to be a show in there that will be incredible. You'll never see anything like it until maybe the 70th anniversary.
Right. Well, I mean, look, man, South Point was great and the arena was awesome, but that Planet Hollywood theater is
Oh yeah,
pro level.
yeah.
It's not 2,000-pound bulls trying to stomp dudes' guts in. It's literally professional. I mean, that's entertaining too, don't get me wrong. But and I love rodeo, but that theater is anyone who knows anything about anything walked into there and was like, holy shit, this is the real of the real. So
And
very
by the
happy.
way, adding to what you said, that was once again something that I mean, I like to think I think things through well, and can I make mistakes? Hell yes. But I'll tell you what I never expected. I never even thought of it. I don't think anybody would. All of a sudden, all these people come that are our 4,500 shooters, and what are they bringing with them?
Oh,
Backpacks, spotting
yeah,
scopes, binoculars,
Right.
and
yeah.
you're going into a theater. And I'm like,
Let's
and
make
the guy
that
calls me and
PSA.
it's like panic mode. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden it was like, and most of it got worked out.
But let's make that PSA now. Please do not bring your backpacks.
Yeah,
It's just,
backpacks are just not something good.
You
The
can
other thing that was funny that came up afterwards, and I mean, it's a learning curve for everybody, but I couldn't believe the number of people that said, and they got there in time, but it's like, how the hell do you find it?
right.
Where's, and we know what's funny? We got the number. What is it? 1.7 million people go to shows at Planet Hollywood.
Right.
Freaking map for it anywhere.
I I
I
I was
mean,
more concerned about finding the coffee shop in that place, and I found both. So it was totally fine. And when you walk into that building, you just need to find if you have any issues, ask anyone in any sort of a work environment there, and they will tell you exactly where it is. So that part is totally cool. So let's talk about another. Go ahead, Britt.
oh, I'm
Okay.
good.
So one of the other things, you guys know this is coming. So here it comes. The people in the shoot off in the theater having to warm up outside on just bales. What if any? And look, this is look, and we've called this a Super Bowl forever, but I think even that falls short. I think that the Vegas shoot, not to gloss you guys too hard, but this is really the crown jewel of our sport. This
Can we back
event
up
is.
for a sec though? Because that isn't actually where they warmed up and practiced.
Where did they
okay.
warm up in practice?
Let's stop this rumor now.
Yeah,
So,
I think, go ahead. I mean, I'll tell you because we did it and I know what the
Yeah.
expense of that was.
Okay.
For anybody at PH Live was at Horseshoe.
Right.
And they left there, they got on a transport bus. It was a 2-minute ride, and they were there at the shoot. Now we even went a step further and put 4 more butts out, just so if they wanted to blank bail or
Yeah.
do something, they could do it. But
Right.
you know how that works. oh, all these guys that are like really good for archery, they're taking pictures of it with garbage around going, huh, look what we get. You know, what do you do?
I mean,
That's what we do is we're going to answer their question. We won't have any butts at PH Live. They're
well,
going
why,
to,
well, is there anywhere else at PH Live that you could put bales for them to shoot?
no.
No.
We have a stage. You saw everything. Everybody there saw everything at PH Live.
Okay. And so that begs the question, how long, let's just take Bodie because he won. How long before Bodie shoots an arrow for score or for practice in the practice end, whatever, before he actually, and folks, I will say this, all of those shoot off people were allowed to go shoot practice rounds, maybe not a whole round. They were allowed to go shoot on the stage long before any of us saw it. So it was not, they got to shoot in that lighting. They got to go up on stage and shoot. So they got to acclimate to that stage before any of us got there. So let's just get that out there. But when a Bodie, since he won, so when Bodie warms up at the Horseshoe and he leaves the Horseshoe on the bus and goes to the PH Live, how much time will expire between when he was getting to practice at Horseshoe versus when he actually starts shooting at PH Live?
What it
Because you see
should
that,
be this year is, I would say, a half hour.
Half hour or so.
What it was last year was way worse, but that's a problem we don't even need to talk about because it's not happening. We
correct.
had the World Archery Shoot going on, and we had some really weird things happen,
Yep.
and it screwed the entire schedule up. So that's already rectified.
Okay. Well, but you see why I'm asking, like that,
Yeah,
that timeline.
absolutely.
If you say you can shoot 100 arrows for practice, jump on the bus, and you'll be shooting for score in less than a half hour, that's going to be an acceptable scenario for most everybody.
And if not, you have a parking lot. You do have a flat concrete area where there's butts. That in itself was, I mean, I was there with them and I didn't hear any of, so it's funny none of them complained that.
No, what it's going to be is the photo op. I mean, that's what it always is.
Right. Well, and because it's new and it's not a whole dirt pad off to the side like at South Point. I mean, I understand it was new and everything's new. So I'm just asking the question so that there's no, expectations there that folks might not be used to. So as long as they have somewhere to do that, most of us were under the impression that that was the only place they had to warm up. And so other question, does every person that's shooting in the PH Live shoot off have to take the shuttle?
Do they have to? I mean, they could walk. A couple of them actually chose to walk.
Yeah, some of them chose to walk and
Yeah.
missed the practice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's
Okay.
like,
I think on the way to that was actually probably for the practice. I think all of them took the shuttle on the way there.
Okay.
if you remember, they
Yeah.
shot twice last year. We
Yeah.
gave them a familiarization
Yes.
round.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, another thing too, the one thing that hasn't been mentioned here is obviously we want it to be the best we can.
Right.
And I think sometimes, people need to understand what we are is the representatives of this organization and everybody's customers to us. We want to do what's best, but sometimes it turns into something that really isn't that. Bottom line to everything was every archer that shot on that stage had the same opportunity as everybody else to practice and wherever they got.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Mhm.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. So, I mean, and once again, I think there's a fine line between doing what's best for everybody and somebody wanting to make a social media post because they're mad at something else that we're probably going to get into next.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to get into people complaining because no matter what you or anyone does, Elon Musk could come write you a blank check and someone's going to find something to complain about. So I don't really care about that part. People call Elon Musk a nitwit and he's one of the smartest humans to ever live. So we're never going to please everybody. So I'm only asking these questions to lay out the framework. And I think that's the most important thing is everybody at South Point got so familiar this, and then this, and then this, and this is here, and this is here, and you do this here. No problem. So when you go to a new place and all of a sudden it's not the same, people tend to get a little bit in their feels about it. So first of all, Brittany, what is registration at right now, X number of days before Vegas compared to last year? Are we on track?
We just
Yeah, we're
probably like
close.
1,500 now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's we look days prior, not year to
Correct.
date. Year to date won't show it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, we're trending
real
to
close.
similar to last year.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Let's just go ahead and jump cold plunge right into this bad boy. And that bad boy is going to be the shoot off and inside outs. So let's just start from, and look, folks, they can't control if there's 15 or 50 people in the shoot off. Sorry about your luck. So if they have 40 in the shoot off this year, they're going to have to run 2 lines. That's just what we're doing. So they have no control over that. They just have to adjust to how many people shoot 900s. It's mind boggling how many people shoot 900s these days, but it is what it is. So, the number of 900s notwithstanding, because you guys just have to adjust to that as we adjust to that. Let's talk about the shoot off. What do we got?
Well, first of all, I do want to correct you on one thing. We do have control over how many make it to the shoot off. And I'm just going to throw this back because we had a meeting at the South Point, which was a group of the championship archers that by vast majority wanted to count X's to shoot the Vegas shoot.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes. Yes, I wasn't in that meeting, but I can tell you right now, if you take X counts 900s to a certain number, and then maybe the remaining 900s are part of the lucky dog or whatever, I don't know. You continue.
well, guess what? I would never be in favor of that. And as long as I'm in this position, I would never allow it.
Well, I'm
Because
just
I tell you right now, there's 3 things that make the Vegas shoot what the Vegas shoot is.
right.
Me, since we're talking about the championships, the pros, whatever, it's that 900. I
Correct.
mean, I think you'll still find some people, and you'll probably find that they're the better archers that say, yeah. I mean, literally, if you look back and only counted X's, there'd hardly be any shoot-offs. That's my point. You
Oh,
don't just
yeah.
randomly,
I don't mean X's to win it. I mean,
yes, right.
yeah,
To
no, I
win
don't
it.
mean, I would never support X's to win it.
My
I would,
point is, if that would have been done by
yeah,
what I would say was my gut feeling of what the general
right.
40 people there wanted,
There
we'd
wouldn't
never
be
have
one.
a shoot-off.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
What
Well,
I was referring
no, I know
to,
what you were saying.
yeah,
Take the
yeah,
top.
I was saying,
I get that.
yeah, I
Right.
was saying if there's 3,900s, you take the top 20 X counts, they're in the shoot off, and then you shoot off the other ones to join. That's kind of what I was talking about. So,
I know. I
so,
figured that. I could see your enthusiasm.
oh, dude, that would be epic. Anyway, all right,
And I'm not
continue.
going to name names, but I can remember it very distinctly. I mean, people were like, yeah, and I said to somebody, well, nobody's ever shot 90. And they go, no, but there's been an 89 or an 88 or whatever it was at the time. I go, yeah, one.
Right,
Now there's been a few. But the point is, that would do exactly what you're saying. We would limit how many people there were.
right,
And when I took the Vegas shoot off or over in 1999, I'd look back then, and at that time, 25 years ago, and I think we've just gone over the 50% mark now. There'd been more times when the shoot off didn't happen or it was not for a perfect score than
mm,
it was for a perfect score. Well,
gotcha.
obviously, the last 25 years, the archers have proven what they're capable of with their own human self and the technology that they've got. So we're in a whole different game. But
Right,
so anyhow, that just to bring that up, that could happen.
all right,
Now, going into this year, the easy and quick way to tell you, I'm going to give you a little prelude to it. Last year after the shoot off, and a lot of interesting comments. I would say the overwhelming number of comments that I heard were that was freaking awesome.
it
Um,
was.
from the people that were in that, maybe not so much. Some of them were, some of them weren't. From my perspective, and I've said it on every talk that I've done publicly about that shoot off. There were obviously some archery gods and some gods watching over me because nothing could have played out any better.
Right,
Even the ones that don't like it, I think would come down and admit it. We got to see everything. I mean, we shot. First of all, we told them we knew they knew what the rules were. They knew we go inside out at a determination that was up to us. We got some crowd involvement. Some people go, "Oh, the crowd shouldn't decide." Crowd didn't decide anything. They were there for part of the show. We had talked about it. I was the messenger. I'm the one out there doing it. And, the bottom line is it worked very well. I mean, we got to see the debate of the fat arrow and the skinny arrow. We got to see the one that should have won didn't win with the arrow size. We got to see this happen, that happen. We gave plenty of warning. Some people shot more consistently, didn't place as high. I mean, that's more of the inside out than anything. So, anyhow, the one thing I did know, and I was very transparent in telling them, I go, that'll never happen again. That can't happen again. We're going to have a 50th anniversary where 5 guys are in it and the winner comes out the first end.
Right.
We're going to have problems with that because it just can't work all the time.
Right.
So we started, and we have to be somewhat tight-lipped or confidential in some of the things we do because there's more ramifications that people think.
Right.
Right away, I mean, I had several people that are my friends that are championship pro archers say, hey, do what Kings of Archery does. Well, what I say and what we're working on, I don't always reveal everything. I can't because we've got to do research. One of the problems I have in the back of my head, because I've dealt with it before, is the redesign of a target face. And a sponsor, a business owner owning 500,000 of them going, what have you done to me?
Right.
They're not marketable anymore.
Right.
So there were a lot of things, and we worked on. We got into. I mean, we probably Vegas has been 11 months ago. We probably started getting into it real seriously about 9 months ago, and did even more. Well, Bruce Cull doesn't make that decision. Number one.
Right.
I mean, my board I think has a lot of respect for what I've done and what we've done, and they're going to listen to me, but they have to vote on it. So we went through the process making dies. I've talked to the company that works on them. Brittany was working on colors and what we can do. And so basically, here's the rule for this year. That's what I think everybody wants to know. The biggest one is the Vegas shoot will not have any inside out scoring. That's number one.
All right. No inside outs.
And I believe that was probably the biggest negative that we had. We saw it. It's funny because some people, they'll talk to us like, well, you should know better than this. I mean, well, let me tell you something. We hear a lot of things.
Right.
And the common denominator I heard was, number one, the archers may have been 70% against, 30% for, or maybe it wasn't even that much. That was a consideration. But the really big thing was the TV people going, what the hell are you doing? The commentators going, how do we tell them about this?
Right.
And the crowd going, what are they doing now? So I think that all that blends into making, a decision that's best for everybody. And
so if we're not going to do inside outs, what are we doing? Let's hear it.
There's no inside out. It's regular scoring. Oh, you want to know what we're shooting at?
Regular scoring. How? Because
what we're shooting at is right now the Vegas target that everybody knows is a 2 centimeter X ring that we shoot at right now for regular scoring.
Correct.
Or regular shooting. That will not change in any of the qualifications. What's going to change?
I see what you did there.
In the shoot off, we will have that target. We will have a new target that has a 1.5 centimeter X ring and a third target that has a 1 centimeter X ring. Those will be specifically shoot off targets. Okay. So, and here's the one thing, and by the way, so everything's been sitting. Our vote on this was taken. One of the things I wanted to do, and so did our board, was wait till the Rushmore Rumble.
Okay.
And once again, it looks like a certain person was able to shoot those inside outs fine, which is good. A lot of people weren't. There was a lot of controversy again. And I think we just sat down and said, you know what? It's too hard for the people back there. The people up here shooting don't like it. We need to make the adjustment. And we had the targets pretty much done. And then the board voted, and we just did that this past week. Now we're in the process of getting the final count in, and we have to do some things with we have copyrights to worry about. But you can imagine what happens. Now, the one thing I did try to feel out a lot of the pro shooters, the championship shooters, And most of them were under the impression that if you make that X ring smaller and score it regular, nobody has to shoot that. They just know what's going on. And I
Mm.
went, okay, I understand that, but I also know what archers are. And so one of the things we're going to do, I mean, this is not going to be a mass sale thing for a target company. We own the copyright, of course. Um, we're going to market so that there can't be a problem when you look at it, whether the archer's the only one that matter. Because when the spectator's back there, they know they're shooting at the bullseye. It got 0.5 centimeters smaller. Well, if they're looking whatever, they still know they're getting closest to it. If they touch it, they get the higher score.
So how are the archers? So I have two questions here. First, and we'll come back to this. So if they're going to be shooting the regular Vegas target, a 1.5 and a 1, how many ends of each are they going to shoot? We'll come back to that. But more importantly, how are the it's not everybody, folks. I don't give a shit how big this target is. I don't care if I see it before Vegas or shoot it because I'm not going to be shooting it. But the archers, Bodie, you're just not going to just be like, oh, hey, bro, here's your new target 5 minutes before he shoots. How will the archers that this actually applies to, how will they be able to purchase, acquire, or shoot this face before Vegas?
Okay, well, first of all, let me go into the easy answer. There's two ways. Anybody that is wanting to shoot that target that's registered in a championship division, they're going to have two opportunities. One of them, it just happens to be that we have it coming up, our national in Memphis, which is 2 weeks before Vegas. We will have them there available for anybody to shoot, not to take home because we don't have enough. And they'll be able to shoot those there and look at them, do whatever. And we just ask that people help with it, not trying to buy 5,000. We don't have it. The manufacturer is going to get a limited number done. The other thing is at Vegas, we will anybody after the second day, we'll make a decision wherever that they can shoot some of these if they want to. I actually think everybody I talked to when thinking about this, without letting the whole cat out of the bag, I think they were kind of like you. They were like, if you make it smaller, it is what it is. It's fair to everybody. The big thing by far was the inside out, and it's gone. So now,
Right.
But I believe that if I was one of them, I'd probably want to see it for sure.
Right.
With
Oh, absolutely. They have to.
Number two, if you get a chance to shoot it, cool. I mean,
Right.
it's going to be the same for everybody. So they will be able to physically shoot it, and there will be some available. Going past that, we have to work out a deal with our sponsor of those targets that makes them and figure out how many that we're going to do. And we've got to sign some agreements so this thing doesn't get out and replace. First of all, I don't think anybody would want to, but it kind of goes back to that first thought about counting X's in the whole shoot. The Vegas shoot staying the same. I want as many 900s as we can get. That's the real challenge, I think, for the average archer. So this is just to handle the shoot-offs. I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be action-packed. Now, getting into your second question, what's the format going to be? So anybody that's listening, listen carefully so you can understand it. Whatever we shoot for the format, you will know it before you get on that stage. It will not be like last year. I know some people want me to do that, but it will not be because that was a complaint. And you know what? This is going to be, the excitement level is going to be the same. Though, here's what we're talking about. And I would encourage people to get a hold of me. Our board voted to vote in the target, to utilize it for the shoot-off at Vegas and the Rushmore Rumble. And the format would be decided by the tournament committee that's there, which is self and the judges. So, but all I want that for is I wanted that ability because if 10 people shoot 900s, I think our format may change.
You mean, by format, you're not talking, so it's still going to be a Vegas 2 centimeter, the standard, a 1.5 and a 1. You're just not going to say right now
how many of each,
the prescribed number of ends.
Okay.
And I want people to contact me. I mean, I'd like to hear their thoughts because to me, I heard a lot of people say go 5 and 5 and 5 if you have to, whatever. So 5 ends. Now, understand the one thing, we will probably have 0 ends of regular scoring.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go into the big Vegas, the original target, X counting as 10, regular scoring for 5 ends, 3 ends, whatever we want,
Right.
whatever everybody wants. And then we'll, at that end, whoever's not tied, they're out and we go into the 1.5 for a prescribed number of ends. What I'm trying to say is it's new.
Right.
We don't know for sure. I want to hear those people involved giving their opinions on which, what they think it's best.
So
Um,
let me ask this. Is there going to be decreasing value per ring? Meaning if you get down to the 1 centimeter and an archer just pipes one and another archer misses and touches red, are those still going to score this? Is the X still going to be the higher value, but by missing the big
yeah,
10, are they going to be penalized, or is that all the yellow going to be the 9 at that point?
what you said last is correct. Now understand that happens a lot, or not a lot, but it happened. The
Correct.
bad part of that was when it was scored inside out.
Wow. Yes. Yes.
So that's kind of gone by itself. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but everybody wanted to score those extra rings.
Right. Yeah. And I agree 100%. And
And
the
yes,
reason for that is because the guy that shoots the most consistent and barely misses the X might still lose to a guy that missed the X by an inch and a half and just barely
right.
hung yellow.
And that ring that we never count will be counted in the shoot off.
Right on, dude.
I
That's
think that's what everybody wanted. I mean, we talked about that, and I think that's the smart way
100%.
to do it.
Well,
Brittany, I don't care.
well, I mean, let's
Talk
just be
about
honest. Let's just
Yeah.
be honest here. Chris Perkins. Chris Perkins shot incredibly consistent in the shoot off last year. He didn't make the inside outs happen, but he shot incredibly consistent. So by this methodology, he kept hitting X's, not inside outs. Not hating on you, Chris. Love you, buddy. He kept hitting X's, not inside outs. But someone who missed an inside out and missed the whole Big Ten still scored the same as him. So if you're going to correct that, that's going to be a massive move. Massive.
I agree with you. Like I said, I really think that the inside out being gone solves 90% of the problem.
Yeah, it's going to
Mhm.
help.
And by the way, too, what you're saying, I mean, that's whenever you talk about consistency, the one thing I think that people don't take into consideration, consistency is based on the score, which is based on the size of the target we shoot.
Correct.
I think the best one, and I don't want to throw him under the bus because I love him like a big tall brother, but Steve Anderson in a shoot off right here in Yankton on an outdoor target got beat for that exact same thing.
Right.
And it's
It
even
was
worse on a big target.
it's worse because you really
Yeah,
see it. You know what I
it's like
Right.
mean? Well, I think
inches.
Steve would laugh about it somewhat
Yeah.
now, but I get it, man. I totally it's the redefining of the scoring ring, which is the bullseye.
Yep.
So it is what it is. But I think that these changes really adapt to what everybody wants.
Absolutely. And so when before the shoot will you lay out the number of ends
I think I'll lay those numbers out. I would say we're going to be done. When will the championship line shoot?
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. So immediately following, I want to hear the number. I want to talk to all my officials. I want to take the input that I get between now and then that are like, hey, we heard you talk about it and we think we should go. I mean, I've really heard a whole lot of 5 and 5. They say 5, 5, and 5, but
correct.
and I've heard and it's just our group talking. We don't announce this to anybody yet. I got on my board and, Brittany's the youngest one on there. And she's not a tournament archer, but I guess I'm not to that level either, but I've seen enough of it.
Right.
But I'm hearing like, well, wait a minute. Don't we want to get to that third size target? So all of a sudden it's like,
Well, that's not your choice. That's the
no,
Yeah,
no.
I agree with the 5 and 5 because archers will be able to comprehend half a round, full round, half a round. So I think from a familiarity standpoint, I like 5, 5 because then it is a number that every archer can, and every Euro out there is going to be like, well, half a round's a 150.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
and
mean
the other
that part to
thing,
me,
too, is last year's shoot off, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we went to the inside out on the 11th end.
something like that.
So we shot a full round counting
Yes.
the X's 10. So imagine now, go back and have replaced this target. Well, no, we don't know where the arrows were, but
Right.
I would venture to guess that that problem takes care of itself big time. When I say take care of itself, it's going to eliminate people, but
Yeah, no, this is exciting. I mean,
I
this is
think it,
exciting. The change of target's great. I like the idea of standard Vegas. Get your one in for practice, whatever, but then straight to X.
practice end will happen for sure.
Yes, straight to X, and then if you and then the rings go down in value instead of the entire yellow being a 9 now. Bro, you just solved a bunch. You just solved a bunch of drama. You really
Yeah.
did.
And by the way, the other thing that a lot of us talked about, and Brittany worked on it, I kind of got on her when she was working with a designer. But, you know, at first I was like, wait a minute, you got to be able to see the different targets from 100 yards. And the more I thought about it, well, you really don't. And that actually gets into a big cost thing. Now, we've come up with since then, the targets are 40 centimeters. That's how big they are. I
Right.
think all we have to do is take whatever it may be, a black stamp, and our judges stamp them to give them the right damn target.
Right.
Aren't out there. I mean, can you imagine shooting an end and me walking down there going, holy shit, somebody shot the wrong target face.
Correct. Well, I mean,
Oh, two over. I mean,
for field archery, we've had lots of records that couldn't stand because on some range somewhere
target. Yeah.
they had the wrong target. So that is fantastic. I'm very, very excited about that. I think the reception to this is going to be stellar. Let me ask you about this. And that is, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I don't care who did it in the past. But the last 2 years, and let's be honest, and I think a big reason for this change, folks, whether you understand it or not, the archers are going to see the arrow and score it, whatever. The people in the arena, there is tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around the world that are watching this shoot off live. And go like last year, we had an inside out where even the commentators, one in particular, was calling it wrong. He called it wrong. Oh, that's totally not inside out, and it was. And so what this is going to do is this is going to give the people at home quicker verification of what is happening in front of them, and I think that's huge. But the question I wanted to ask you about was media. The external the distribution and the presentation of the Vegas shoot, our crown jewel the last couple years has been not what it could be.
I would use the word terrible.
Well,
That's okay for you to say, but unfortunately for me, because of these logos behind me, if I say that, people will say that I'm hating, even though I really haven't did it for several years. But what is your guys' plan for this 2026 Vegas events?
On that, I do want to clarify one thing. You use the word media, and what I'm really talking about is what people that weren't in that venue got to see.
Correct.
How they could watch it.
What they got to see, how they could see it, all that combined.
Yes.
By the way, how hard is it for you to stop a minute because she has to leave?
Oh, she can do. We
you can edit this out.
We rough this out. Brittany, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I'm not going to edit it out. This is just how we roll.
She has a mini Brittany.
Yep.
Yes.
And she gets sassy when I'm late.
All right. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate you.
Soon.
All right.
All right.
No, going into we had hit a really good number at South Point. I mean, as you well know, I'm not going to get into those likes, engagements, whatever the hell they are. I just know that we had millions going on.
It's a lot.
I think that I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, person-wise. I mean, I think a lot of people would say, well, what's Chris Wells? Well, Chris Wells is a good friend of mine, number one. He works for World Archery. He's been communications and whatever he's done, and he's done a fantastic job. And I really believe that he's on the right track of what needs to happen. And unfortunately, we just had a chain of events that didn't work out so well.
Right.
And some of those now are gone. But when we started that and we were going to charge $5 for people to view it, the finals, once again, it was similar to a spectator fee. You can't charge this, whatever. Well, there has to be some value to that, And then the amount of times it's viewed, I think there were some good reasons to do it. Well, unfortunately, there were problems. It shut down in the middle of something. Somebody running something accidentally shut it down when the last arrows were being shot. Whatever, it was bad.
Right.
Following year, it just like it kind of got worse. We got into this new world, and I have Brittany and all everybody tell me about these. I mean, last year was scary at the stuff that I would say. I mean, in my world growing up, it's illegal. I mean, they were using our logos, literally. I mean, totally copying them, sending them out to our people,
Right.
saying, "Sign up and watch it here." I mean, we had people in the crowd. It was, and what do they call it? Bots and whatever else stuff going on. I mean, I talked to an individual that came in here that had paid $95. Um, and it took him like 4 months to get his money back, you know,
Ouch.
and never got to see it, you know.
Right.
Unfortunately, that happened. Now, this year, and we're going to have a lot to announce this year at Vegas, but for this year, here's what I can tell you. Everything that we put out on whatever platform it's going to be is going to be free.
Okay.
Going back to what we did, is it 3 years ago, I guess? Yeah, three
Yes.
years ago.
Historically.
Right.
Historically.
Historically, what we've done, we have to rebuild that now, and I think this is the way to do it. I think going forward, we're hopefully going to be able to have a few announcements. One thing, just to back up, part of the problem we had last year with PH Live and the finals was the World Archery part of it, and it became a real cluster. I mean, it
Right.
caused some big problems, and some of that was our fault, some of that was World Archery's fault. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. This
Right.
year, we don't have that problem.
Okay.
Moving to next year, we have some great ideas coming. I think that World Archery is going to be a good partner like they always have. And I think there's some really good things on the horizon. To just mention this year with World Archery, we are still the final event. The last one they shoot of all the ones they've shot. I mean, there's been Singapore and Nimes and Mexico this weekend and, all over the world. Their final scores they shoot at the Vegas shoot, the cumulative total will find out who the winners of everything are. So the awards we're going to give out there, but there's going to be no head-to-head shoot-offs. None of that will happen for the World Archery part. So
Okay.
it's
And
a good way to do it, and I think we're all happy with it.
I'll follow up on that. I made a little note here. So as far as, and look, folks, I'm just going to tell you from a personal standpoint, I like Chris Wells a lot. Chris Wells is a good dude. He is extremely talented. He does do all the world archery stuff. If you're in America, you need to understand that the archery media per se here, it has less guardrails than what Chris Wells has to deal with globally. That's just a nice way to say we get to do shit that we just get to do. It's the wild, wild west over here, son. But Chris is a good dude. His mind he's super talented. And so my question for you is, will Chris Wells be the producer, director, etc. of the media coverage coming out of Vegas this year?
I want to say I actually don't. He's going to be there. That's the big thing. He's going to help. He's going to assist. I don't know what his capacity is.
Okay.
Actually, Brittany knows what it is. And you want to know something? The only thing I've learned out of all this is that the producer, as they now call them, I thought they were called directors, whatever they are. But
Right.
the thing we failed on in PH Live last year, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't have somebody from the archery world that knew what was going on in that venue.
Correct.
They didn't know that you do this and all the lights can do this and the sound can do that, and they need to be attached. So I think the answer is yes. Chris is coming.
Okay, good.
I've
Good.
asked him to. Juan Carlos has talked to him. We're all on good terms. I think he knows what we want, and we're looking forward to something really great for the 60th. So
Okay, good. I am happy to hear that, because what you're saying is true. Like in the PH, it was an amazing production, but yeah, they put the wrong faces on the wrong people, and they were showing people that weren't at full draw when like that's all just someone that didn't know archery. That's easily fixable. So I'm happy to hear that. Now, you mentioned World Archery and and the World Series type stuff. And so this Vegas is going to be the last event of that series. Previously, the last however many years, there would be a standalone finals for the World Series. Does that event have any plans to come back to Vegas in any capacity in the future, or will Vegas as its own shoot conclude that series moving forward?
Yep.
You didn't answer.
No, it actually, like I said, and I'm not hiding anything. That's what we've been talking about for the future.
Okay.
And we actually have a group of all the other organizers and ourselves and World Archery, all discussing all potential possibilities. I can tell you right now that there is a big desire to have several things at the Vegas shoot that we've had in the past, including a final. And let me tell you, all that means that's not hard to do, and it adds a lot more if people want to see it. But that probably involves another night, like we used to do at South Point.
Right.
And I think that a lot of our domestic archers, like you said, we're a different breed.
Right.
Don't really care about what so and so is doing. I think more and more did as they got exposed to it.
Right.
But I think we need to be together, but yet be separate.
Right. Well, and I think part of the problem with the World Series was asking these guys and customers to come into the arena and be there till 11 at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but so is there or is there not plans to have a separate World Series finals in Vegas maybe in the future?
Yeah, they're absolutely talk about it. Yes.
Okay.
I can't say because I'm one player in that, but
Yeah, that's fine.
And I can tell you that, I mean, there's a lot of talk. I mean, I'm not keeping anything a secret. I've heard many conversations across the world from people that are running these talking about, hey, why do we have to have different rules, than this one, and that one? And
Right.
I've heard people say, well, wait, we don't need to worry about that. Maybe we should have, I'm going to pick somebody, but don't quote me at who they are. I mean, the Kings of Archery, say they're one of the World Series events. Cool. Count whatever they have and be able to get points on the way you finish and win.
Sure.
It doesn't all have to be one round. I've heard
Right.
other people say, why in the world is there a rule for World Archery that says, hey, an indoor target butt has to be leaned back 6 degrees?
Right.
Well, you know what? That's probably antiquated stuff. I'm not an expert on that. That's not my deal. I'll add my input. But once again, it's like, wait a minute. Why can't you shoot a 27 indoors in World Archery?
Right.
And the answer would be
Because they said so.
right, because they've had an outdoor and indoor rule together.
Right.
Well, why does a target butt have to be a certain height off the ground? And so on and so on and so on. So
Right.
I think that there's a lot of momentum to get some standardized stuff that may be good for indoor, that needs to be separate from outdoor. I mean, obviously, look at the field versus the indoor. Look
Right.
at the field versus outdoor target. I mean, a lot of differences. So I think there's a lot of really cool things going on, and I think recent changes have brought on, hey, let's talk about stuff. So
Yeah. So one thing that I neglected to ask that I would literally cause bodily harm to myself is viewing, not the spectator fee. I don't care about that. Viewing the arena in South Point spoiled us all. Sorry, it is what it is. But trying to view the championship shooters while they shot in Vegas without some sort of bleacher or elevated seating is having all the flat seating to watch the top of the world people shoot. It just is not conducive. What are you guys doing? I understand I asked you last year and you said you couldn't bring bleachers into where they were last year. The ceilings were low and there was just no way to get them in unless you like disassembled them and shit. But will you have any sort of bleachers or elevated seating in the big giant room where the best shooters in the world are shooting their rounds for qualification?
that's already on the it's already on the blueprint and been approved. But I will tell you one thing, I'd never heard of it before, but they're called chair risers.
Okay.
What it is, it's a step bleacher, but you use the regular chairs on it.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I see, once again, they have some union thing that says nope, no bleachers. But so what this is, it's like a bleacher without any seats,
Uh-huh.
but they put the seats on it. They being the convention center.
And
So,
and then how high, how many rows and how high does it go in the back?
oh hell, I don't know, but it's adequate. I know that
Okay,
it's 100% better than last year. Um,
that's
and
fair.
actually, yeah, I mean, obviously it's not 100 rows, but I would guess that it's 6, 7 feet tall, which would be 7 rows, and then chairs in between. And we have so much more room there. I mean, you remember that in last year, the DOS, I could use a wired mic from the DOS to run the shooting.
Right.
I mean, it was right there. And I mean, what do you do? I mean, it was,
Yeah.
we had to adapt and do it. So,
You did what you had to do last year, so everyone needs to offer grace for that. Now, moving forward, since you're in the big room, as long as you have some form of elevated seating, I don't care if they call them bleachers. I don't care if you bring a normal seat. I could care less. As long as there's room for hundreds of people to elevate, to see over the people, to watch the best in the world shoot is really all that matters. And so back to the media real quick. With Chris being there, is World Archery going to be the main source doing shooter interviews and creating the content during the event and then disseminating the shoot off?
I don't know that. And actually, I don't know that Brittany's gone, of course, but I don't know that she knows for sure. I can tell you that we're working on that. We have all the pieces in play. Uh,
Okay.
and get ready for it because you may be one of those that we come to. So
Well,
you're aware because
uh,
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I'll be there regardless, but yeah, that's
but a lot of things that we're working with, we've had I don't even know the name of the company, but Brad, the guy that from Florida, I think that has all the production stuff. We've had a lot of people helping us with it, and we
okay.
want to do what's best. So,
Well, you
um,
certainly like dropping bombs on folks, that's for sure. So
absolutely, that's the way
thanks,
life is.
thanks for that.
Yeah.
So last question. Well, there's a couple last questions. Number one, and you might not be able to answer this, but financially, what sort of a position is the Vegas shoot, and by default, the NFAA, but mainly the Vegas shoot? What sort of financial position are you guys in historically? Like after a Vegas and South Point, you would have all your expenses and you'd have minus hundreds of thousands of dollars for extra shit you didn't know about. But after the shoot, you'd be like, okay, this is where we are financially. After 2025, can you kind of let people know just a basic idea of, because look, this is about sustainability. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the Vegas shoot's cool. Yes, we all want the Vegas shoot to be all this shit, but I just want the Vegas shoot to continue. So, what can you share with everybody about the actual financial status given these cost increases?
Well, absolutely. I mean, number one, nobody had a crystal ball. I can tell you right now that if we had to do multiple years of what we did in 25, we would have to rethink things very, very quickly. We'd have a few years. Financially, we took a beating last year. I mean, I can't be anything more than honest. Did we see some of it coming? Yeah. All of it? No. Adjustments being made? Absolutely. And I think that, I can't say enough good about the team that I get to work with. I mean, everybody. Brittany's my right hand, obviously, with that, and she's got almost as much experience as I do with it. And looking back from last year, she's been able to come up with some pretty good ideas. We've had to address some things, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, my entire love, my ego, is the Vegas shoot. I mean, it's the NFAA, the Vegas shoot. It is what it is.
Right.
And we want to provide the best that we can, and that's what we're going to continue to try to do. I think that it takes a huge partnership, which I think is what it's always been. Sometimes you don't set goals, and goals happen, and then you go back and say, yeah, this is the way to do it. I think Vegas has been a lot of that. It's been a melting pot of ideas, and we try to do what's best. And every time I say we, it's all of you listening. I mean, we are you. I mean, we're a organization that's a nonprofit, and we want to try to provide the best thing. That's why we'll listen to everything. Sure, it's hard sometimes when people say things that you just know aren't correct, but you have to deal with that.
Right.
I mean, realistically, I think we want exactly what you just said. We want to have the best shoot we can do. We want it to be a world-class event. We want it to be the crown jewel, the Super Bowl. And once again, when I say we, it's all of you. You're the ones that make the difference.
Yeah,
So
but you guys also can't take it in the shorts and lose money every year. That's not how it works either.
absolutely not. No.
So
And the problem with that is, and a couple of things that I'm glad you brought that up, because it's one of the things to mention. I think, the overview of the Vegas shoot in my lifetime, so for pretty much 50 years, has really been what it's really comprised of when it comes to the shooters is there's three very distinct groups. Number one are the youth. Number two are the championships, or the pros, as we all call them. And number three are the flights. And what's really interesting is none of those three can make it independently.
yep.
And they rely on each other more than I think most people realize. Not only are they three, but they're basically about a third of the shooters too.
Correct.
Actually, the championship's a little bit smaller just because of the sheer numbers of what you do there. And the flights are the biggest. The kids are, 1,000 all the time. But what they all add to each other is what makes it what it is. I mean,
100%.
we had to look last year. I about was shocked. I mean, the youth really talk about huge, and something that we started last year with the help of some good sponsors. We started the Next Gen, which was the Next Generation program. Ironically, you and I have talked about this, and you missed it because we probably didn't do a good enough job advertising.
I didn't
But
even know. I didn't even know. Well,
what
so
was it?
so just to preface what Bruce is talking about, it was a day and and I didn't know anything else. So I'm in the cigar bar, and
Wow,
I
20
don't
yards away.
yeah, I don't drink, but I was smoking a cigar and just chilling. And Bruce goes walking by and he's like, sees me and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm having a cigar." And he goes, "Why aren't you in there with 1,000 kids?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know." And he was like, "What?" So yeah, go ahead.
But anyhow, I mean, working with one of the greatest foundations that there are in archery that really puts stuff back. I mean, that old saying that I learned as a kid: people keep taking, taking, taking. Well, you got to give something back.
Right.
Giving back and Easton is synonymous. I mean, the Easton Foundation has helped everybody, not just us. I mean, they know what to do. They've done a great job of it, and I can't say enough about the two generations that I knew, Jim, of course, and Greg now. And last year they helped us with this Next Gen program, and really it was some of their individual people. Lorena, who most people don't hear the name, and Karen, they worked for the Easton Foundation and for Greg, and they saw some vision that Brittany had with this. And talk about cool. I mean, so here we go with the kids. Well, if you all remember, we started the old practice with the pros.
Right.
I was shocked. I mean, when I walked in that room, it was pretty cool because I got to see it. I don't know the number. I mean, I know we had 1,000 kids in there. But we also had hundreds of championship professional archers. And what was really cool is we had the Ford, the Dodge, and the Chevy of the worlds. We had the Hoyt, the Matthews, the Bowtech, and the PSE, the whatever. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but all of them.
Right.
And it was really cool. And they're all lined up on tables. We had to go get more tables to bring them in.
Right.
And all of a sudden the line starts, and I looked at that and I said, I think I was talking to Lorena and Greg and Brittany or something. I go, you know what? This is not going to be an early night.
Right.
Because I said they just started something, and those kids, which was really cool, once again, something you probably only see in archery. They started down there with Greg Poole, who was a nobody pro, but they had to go all the way down there to get to the top pro,
Right.
and they weren't going to just skip people.
Right.
So they were taking a target and they were getting everybody's autograph. And
100%.
and some of the pros go, "Oh, I hate to do those things." Well, they don't really. They know what that's worth. Well, there's the culmination of everything coming together. Then the highlight is, we have ice cream, there's a dance music going on, and we give all the awards away, which are scholarships. And we're giving $50,000. You think about that, those are scholarships. And we saw the other day, we saw some numbers, and we've given over $1 million from our foundation in scholarships.
That's
Um, so it's a huge thing, and here these kids are and just enjoying everything. And, you could see a little bit of the competitiveness between this bow company and that bow company to make sure that, they were doing a good job. And I could see
right.
some of the sales managers behind them. And, it was just really cool. It was a
Yeah.
really cool event. But
Well, and I'll give a shout out to Darren Christianberry over at Elite. Darren does a great job of making sure that his folks show up and represent. So
yeah. I should really not say companies. I should just say colors because that's how I know them all. But yeah, I mean, all those, every one of them. And I hopefully I didn't leave anybody out. If I did, it's just me because I'm getting old. But
it's all good.
no, it was great. It was incredible. That was an incredible night. But that next generation really shows the foresight that our team has,
Right.
which obviously is driven by all of you as the customers. It shows a work partnership with another foundation, the Easton Foundation, to actually do something that we all talk about but never do.
Right.
And that's to grow the pie. It's
Absolutely.
bringing new people in. Now, to complement that, and I think a lot of people have probably heard it, we have the new Grow the Line, which is kind of earmarked for first timers. In fact, that's what it is. So pretty simple. I think I know the dollar amounts. If I've shot the Vegas shoot anytime in the last 5 years, I can go to you who's never shot and get you signed up. You get $75 off. And there's an emphasis on amateurs and kids. I
Right.
get $75 off.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and of course, I've talked to some people and they're like, wait a minute, I know like 30 kids. I go, cool, but you got to do it one at a time or get more
Right.
of mentor mentee, because that's what it's all about. So
Absolutely.
we're really trying to grow everything, to get some new people exposed. And the other thing it does, it offers a real path for, most of us going to Vegas is like, yeah, we've done all this before. Well, I'll tell you what, that can be scary and traumatic. Um, you're walking into those places and you're like, holy Toledo, I've never seen anything like this. And like,
Right.
what do I do? Where do I go? So that's the whole idea of a mentor and a mentee and a grow the line. So once again, great deal.
One thing I forgot to ask, and she's gone already, but I can't believe I forgot to ask this. Since the vendors don't care, but since the championship is now shooting in that giant hall, the lighting in that hall wasn't necessarily the most spectacular in the world. And I'm certainly not comparing it. If you compare any indoor lighting to Yankton, just stop talking because that's not fair. But the lighting in that room was yellow and minimal. What have you guys or the facility, what are you guys doing to spruce up the lighting where the championships are going to be? I can't believe I forgot that.
No, well, actually, you wouldn't want to ask her because even though she does what I tell her, actually sitting behind me is a lot of it, and I can't show it to you right now. But
Okay.
working on a pretty good plan for that, and to give you the answer, that is literally what we call as an organizer. That's called conventional lighting,
Okay.
and it's really weird because I can just I know, and I'm an archer, so I understand it. But it looks terrible from way back. When you're 20 yards away, it doesn't look quite as bad. When you look through a scope, it's like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't great, but I can shoot. So it's not great. And you're right, it either has a gray or a yellowish effect. So we checked into that, and we actually did some of that last year at the Horseshoe. It's around $100,000 to put the lighting in for the 3 days we need it there. So we've opted to not do that. And we think we've come up with something that'll work pretty well.
Okay.
And along with the backstops that we're going to put up for the aero protection that we talked about, um, we're hopefully going to be able to incorporate something. So yes,
Okay.
I would give you my word that something will be different
Okay.
and hopefully it works well. And also to go along with that, I'm reasonably sure. Let me back up. The target butts that you shoot on the stage at PH Live will not be the same type we've used in the past.
Oh,
Um, I can tell you that they will be a solid target butt that will be, I think, more what everybody wants to see. And I think we're going to start playing with some different ones, but we're trying to incorporate some of those into the championship lines now also.
oh, there you
So,
go.
and
Awesome.
once again, we've got some great sponsors that have sponsored targets for us and deal with us. And there's a lot of people making good targets. I mean, I like all of them. And I mean, Dale Morrell's a good friend of mine, and I think those target butts have been a big part of what's making archery what it is. I think we just shoot a lot at them and too much. So I think we're going to try to come up with something that he's working on, and we'll be able to look at something into the future. So
Well, and let's be honest, and this is a thing a lot of folks. All right. How many of those 48-inch Morel targets does the NFAA own?
well, actually, they're 52-inch, and we have about 500.
500. So for everybody out there right now, go on and get on your Google machine and Google giant targets, 48 to 52 inches, and look how much those cost.
Yeah. Well, and
So
they're like I said, I mean, I'm not a bit afraid. I mean, the block makes a hell of a target. Denage makes a hell of a target. Reinhardt makes a hell of a target. Morel makes a hell of a target. I don't want to leave anybody out. The 360 or 365.
365, good
Yeah, that
target.
they make a hell of a target. Who did I miss? 11 makes a hell of a target. I mean, I've been worldwide and used the 11 at some of our IFAA and field events. I mean, there's a lot. Who'd I miss? Delta makes a good target. There's a lot of good stuff out there. We just happen to be the most abusive group, and the proving grounds of what works and what doesn't. Um,
500. That's a lot.
yeah.
That's a whole lot.
Um, I hear all the time, you'll hear people say, I don't care what it is. We shot a target out here for, FIDA stuff. And somebody's like, those are terrible. And I'm like, okay, that's one company. Somebody goes, oh yeah, you shot this one indoor. That's terrible. Well, I don't think any of them are terrible. I think it's literally, they're made for different applications.
Right.
And I think the amount you shoot them, think about this. You sell a target butt and it's perfect when you sell it. And all of a sudden somebody beats the hell out of it and they're like, "Oh wait, doesn't hold an arrow right." Well, yeah, that's not really the target, but it's probably more what you use them for.
Well, or they're complaining it's too it lasts good, but it's too hard to pull out of. Bro, you got to pick one or the
Yeah.
other. So last question, then I'll let you go. So you signed a 3-year deal with the Caesar Group. We went through year one, other than $100,000+ of unforeseen costs, which is what it is, what it is. You're now entering year two. At what point do you start negotiating for the next contract?
Well, we've already been given a 28 and 29 contract. Um, and we haven't signed, we're still negotiating it. And a lot is based upon this year.
Okay.
And that's, I mean, I can negotiate quite well, especially after last year, because that was one that was out of the books as far as normal negotiations. But,
Right.
and they're pretty darn good people. I mean, Vegas is the shoot and archery in general, there can be ups and downs and graphs all over. I mean, Vegas itself is going through some interesting changes.
Isn't it though?
We still have, and I don't think I've made it a secret. I don't know if I publicly said it, but we have a goal that if there's a facility that we can get into, it's called the Forum. Um, and some people will know it. Some of the manufacturers go, "Oh yeah, we have part of the SHOT Show in there." Well, the Forum is actually so big and a freestanding, free span building, it would hold the entire Vegas shoot in one room.
Right.
So That would be our ultimate. The forum, and by the way, it's called the Caesars Forum, but it's not Caesars Forum, which is the forum shops. It's on the other side of Caesars. It's behind the motels, all the casinos we use now.
Right.
Freestanding, unbelievably expensive. And of course, what really hurt us were the $30,000 in air holes.
Right.
So we have to, we're addressing that and we're going forward, but that is the ultimate place we could get to. Which, I mean, it's attached to four hotels. It's freestanding, but it's literally like skywalks. It's like anything else we go to. So that would be one of the ultimates. And
So
that's what we're going to try to get to. So we're working on it every year, 1 year at a time.
would that be like double the expense right now? Or like when you say incredibly expensive, I think people don't have a unit of measure for that.
Well, and I don't know that I have a good unit of measure because the one thing, without opening up a huge can of worms, when you go to these convention centers, let's just use the Horseshoe for example. When we talk about using that, there's not a price for Horseshoe. There's how much food and beverage you have,
Right.
how many sleeping rooms you take, how many this you have, how many that you have. So it's the free enterprise system, Vegas style.
Right.
So I mean, would it be more? Um, Maybe not as much as we thought at first, because it's somewhat independent. So the price is a little higher, but you don't have any requirements to meet.
Right.
So it's a tough one to look at. I mean, it's one of those things that we're going to look at seriously and
Do,
move forward as we can.
do you think that the current, apparently I lied about the last question. Do you think that the current Vegas situation is going to help you in a negotiation like that? And for those that don't know what I'm talking about when I say Vegas situation, overall travel, overall visitors, just total revenue, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I would say that it may. I don't know. It's a big thing. I just saw the numbers on the last quarter of Vegas and then the final 25 for their whole year. And Vegas was down like 5% for sleeping rooms. But guess what was up? Convention. So that's a catch 22. So what you see going on is a lot of the gambling, which we just don't really fit into anywhere. I wish we had a bunch of whales that would come in and spend more than our entire tournament in one night at a blackjack table. But
Right.
no, I mean, overall, Vegas, it always does well. They have their ups and downs and their peaks and valleys. And like I said, convention was astronomical this year. And the end of it really got hit. What I mentioned, like NFR, I mean, and they have the Magic Show, they have CSI, the Consumer Electronics, they have Worlds of Concrete, they have monster shows. So
Yeah.
their convention is doing well. Their gaming seems to have been down. And, there was I heard a lot of stuff about the Canadians were upset and they didn't come and gamble.
Hmm.
So a lot of those factors pull in, but from what we deal with, Vegas was pretty much business as usual.
All right.
Convention was about the same.
Awesome. Well, hey, buddy, I appreciate you spending some time with us today and filling us in on everything that's going on Vegas wise. Let everybody out there, if you can recall, Bruce, let everybody out there know where they can keep up with Vegas and the NFAA on the World Wide Web.
TheVegasShoot.com. That's where everything's at.
There you go, folks. That's it. TheVegasShoot.com. If you're on Instagram, it's the Vegas Shoot or NFAA, National Field Archery Organization. But either one, I just want to thank Bruce for coming on today. For those of you that have been on the fence about coming to Vegas because of a spectator fee or something small like that. I mean, if you're worried about a $12 cup of coffee for 3 or 4 days, just keep in mind that, Vegas is Vegas. It's a destination event. It is our crown jewel. I'm not going to call it our Super Bowl anymore. It's our crown jewel. It is literally, yes, the Super Bowl is the culmination of the NFL season, but with what we do, there's so many different organizations, so many other events globally. The crown jewel of our sport is the Vegas Shoot. It's just what it is. And it's not held in and I'm not going to offend, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it's not held in the middle of Alabama. It's not held in the middle of Nebraska. It's Vegas. And guess what? It wouldn't be our crown jewel if it was held in the middle of nowhere. Just a fact. It's just what it is. And so if you're going to try to nickel and dime your excuse not to come, that's okay. Just don't come. But don't use things that aren't really causal, meaning those things aren't the real reason. If you don't have the money to fly to Vegas and get a room for 4 days and pay the registration fee, that's totally okay. That's fine. But it's damaging to our sport and it's damaging to the Vegas shoot to sit there and throw a fit about a $6 a day spectator fee or a $12 cup of coffee when you're probably not effing coming anyway. So all you're doing is tainting people that might have the capacity to come from coming because you're blowing something out of proportion into what it is. Now, are costs going up? Damn right they are. Costs are going up on everything. And so the fact that Bruce and Brittany and the team over there were actually able to salvage and have one last year, and they took it in the shorts on money. It is what it is, but we just need to understand that the days of archery at this level being a bargain, it's not going to apply to this event. There are events where you can go get $69 hotel rooms with bloody handprints on the back of the bathroom door. I've been to them, remember, where you're at a recreation facility and the city's paying to come because, yeah, okay, I get it. But Vegas is it. Vegas is our thing. And it's in a location where if you look at all the other events you do, and I've been to every one of them, what do you do when the event's over? Go eat, go back to the room. That's about it. Vegas is Vegas for a reason. I spent more on Uber going down to the strip when we would fly than I do on coffee or spectator fees. And I know a lot of people at the South Point did as well because some people are just going to go down there. So if you're not going to come, that's cool. Just don't. But please try to be gracious to the event because everybody on this, especially on social media, everything, your opinion and your words matter because your negativity about the event that you're probably not coming to anyway might affect how someone else thinks about the event. And that's just not fair. It's not fair to the other archers and it's not fair to the organization. So it is what it is. I'm pretty excited to see how they put things together. I'll be there, of course, and we're just going to keep doing the thing. So we're just going to keep rolling out updates. I'm going to try to get my grubby little mitts on pictures of these new targets. We'll just see what kind of leverage I have to lean on Bruce to give them pictures up. But I think this shoot off, I like it. I like it.
Hey, Greg, one
yes,
last
sir.
thing. I
Yes.
just want to add too. I forgot. I wrote down one thing, and of all things, it's stuff that had nothing to do with archery, but kind of does. I do want to tell people. I really want to stress that it's our 60th anniversary, which we mentioned a couple times, but we're going to have a couple really cool parties. We're going to have an opening party. We're going to have the kids deal again at the final. I just want to tell you that I think I came pretty true on my 50th anniversary announcement that you're going to see something you've never seen before. Well, the 60th, it's going to be big. And a little bonus that we got, and this is what I had to write down because I don't know who all these people are, but we've got some pretty cool tickets that we're going to give away that are shows that are happening during Vegas. Nice. And there's some pretty big names, I guess. And these are going to be anybody that's registered is going to be put in regular drawing, and we're going to give them away, obviously, in time so you can go to them. But one that I know for sure, and these are at Caesar's Properties and the Sphere, which I guess they have a big relationship. The coolest one to me is the Wizard of Oz. I guess it's at the Sphere, and it's like unbelievable. That's my cool one. But I think what people are really going to be interested in is the Eagles are performing in the Sphere, and we've got 2 tickets to them. And the one that I wouldn't really care about, but I think a lot of people would, is somebody called J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, is playing in Caesars during the event. And Chris Angel, one of the world's best magicians, is going to be there.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of, when we talked to our rep, I couldn't believe it because when I saw the Eagles prices and I saw Jennifer Lopez, the cheapest seats, you guys go on, Google it, go to Ticketmaster, whatever, their prices are like $500 to $600 a seat.
Oh, it's wild.
And we've got some to give away. So
Nice.
anybody, obviously the odds aren't great, but it's another thing we're going to do. And something that, and we've got a lot of other ones too. A lot of the shows in the Caesars properties, we've got tickets to, but we want to give those back. We don't want to auction those or anything else. We're going to give those back randomly to anybody that's registered. So, and the
Awesome.
60th will be something cool.
There we
It'll
go.
be cool.
All
You
right.
definitely-
Well, I look forward to seeing everybody there. If you're coming out, you see me walking around, be sure to say hi, take a picture, do whatever. But I just want to thank Bruce. Obviously, Brittany had to go pick up her mini me, but it's going to be good, folks. It's Vegas. Things are moving forward, and the mo people, the mo better. And that's all I got to say about that. So whatever you're doing this weekend, everybody out there, be safe. You guys know the drill. We want to hear from you, not about you. And as always, everybody, love, peace, and chicken grease.